Welcome to our podcast. This is Friends on Fire.
I'm Mike. I'm a lifelong devotee of financial independence. I even wrote a book about it.
And I'm Maggie, a newer convert, but just as passionate, especially on the intersection of minimalism and financial independence.
We're one and the same.
We are two like-minded friends who believe that talking about money with your friends and family opens the door to financial well-being.
The Friends on Fire podcast is about dispelling myths, building financial acumen, and sharing your financial independence journey with the people you care about.
This is Friends on Fire.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Maggie. Happy New Year. Can I still say that?
I think you can still say it.
Okay.
We'll give it a month. We'll give it 30 days. On January 31st, you need to stop saying it.
Deal.
So speaking of Happy New Year, today's topic is a topic that always gets discussed at the beginning of the year, right? Everybody's trying to work out, get in shape. They've got resolutions around that. So we're going to focus today on how to work out on a budget and or for free. So, right, how to not break the bank, but still stay physically fit and healthy. Before we jump in, though, we're going to share a few comments from listeners, and then we'll jump into our show topic.
All right, let's do it. I love comments.
Okay, this first one, Mike, why don't you read this first one? This is an email that we received.
From Shayla. I said it earlier this year, and I'll say it again. I'm so burned out on other financial podcasts. You two are a breath of fun, fresh air. Keep up the great work. I haven't missed an episode yet. Cheers.
Yeah, I love it. That's such a nice comment. When I first scanned it, I was like, wait, she's burned out on our podcast? It's nice of her to call us. And I like that she's burned out on other financial podcasts, but we are a breath of fun, fresh air. I think she meant I'm a breath of fun air. Like I'm the fun air and you're the fresh air, maybe. Just kidding.
I think some people might find me fun.
We always joke that I bring,
but
we always joke that I bring the fun and Mike brings the finance, and it's a great combo. So we hope you enjoy the combo. Okay, the second comment, which I just thought was a nice reminder for people. It was partial comment, partial tip for people to get your year started off right. So this was a comment on Instagram from Kim. She said, "Hey guys, loving your podcast. Just ran across it this week and starting from the beginning." I cringe when I hear someone say that because I'm like, I can't remember what our early episodes were like.
I don't want to listen to them.
They're probably pretty similar to what they're like now.
Yeah.
Her other comment was, "I'm curious about cell plans. I'm about to pay off my phone and we currently pay $150 a month plus fees for the three of us. Any suggestions? We're with Verizon." I went back and forth with her and offered our go-to suggestions and reminded her that we have an episode on this also. But I thought this was a really important reminder because in general, if you are paying more than $20 to $30 a month per line for your cell phone plan, you are likely paying too much. So I told her, I sent her the exact plan that my husband's on with Verizon. It's the way that, we always joke that, when I would come home and tell Greg, I'm like, Mike says you're paying too much for your cell phone bill. And Greg's like, who's Mike? It was the way that they got to know each other. And Greg began to trust Mike in his advice and review of our finances because he, immediately saved him $100 a month. So her bills, she would save over half off what she's paying today just to immediately switch the three. And then because it's a multitude of lines, I think she could save even more.
That's awesome.
But yeah, just a reminder, right? You could cut. I've had a few people recently text us about cell phone plans and there's so much savings. The biggest thing is just switch to these prepaid plans. So all the big companies, you don't even have to switch to a Mint Mobile, which are the, less expensive discount companies. You can stay with a Verizon, a T-Mobile, AT&T, et cetera, and do the prepaid plan and get, under $30 a month very easily.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we jump into our topic today?
Let's do it. We're going to talk about working out on the cheap.
Yeah, on the cheap. So Mike, what's your workout routine? Let's start with that.
I run 3 times a week for 3 to 7 miles or so. I do it early in the morning, hours before you are waking up. It's dark out. It's what I like. It's very simple. Just kind of go run around in circles. Listen to books.
I like it.
What about you?
I also run significantly later in the day than you do. Sometimes a whole day later than you. But yeah, I mostly run. I also in quarantine, especially, I've been walking a lot. So every day I run about 3 days a week. Also, when I don't run, I walk every single day. Sometimes I switch it up and I'll do yoga with my husband because he does primarily yoga. And I'll do some like free weights. Sometimes I'll do some online classes, especially in the winter when I'm getting bored with running on the treadmill. I will try to do some different classes on YouTube, which we'll talk about more. But yeah, I've got a pretty kind of simple routine also. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things about running is it's a very easy and inexpensive and high impact workout activity.
Yeah.
Though it can be, depending on what your health condition is, it can be kind of like rough on your body. So I think it's always just helpful to kind of start with us sharing a little bit of our own experience, but staying fit and healthy, it's incredibly important. Again, it's always a topic that is more popular at the beginning of the year. It's when gym memberships are, going through the roof. Like LA Fitness will be empty all year, but like January, February, it has like twice as many people in it, or any gym. And there's even really interesting studies that link your finances to your health, right? So getting your finances in order can actually help you get your health in order and vice versa. So there's a ton of links, and we'll put a link in the show notes to a particular Forbes article from 2018, which shares a lot more detailed kind of stats and info on this. And there's a ton of different articles and studies on this, but there's specific links between your physical, financial, and mental health. And there's an interesting cycle, good cycle or a vicious negative cycle, when one of those things becomes out of whack. So if there's a lot of stress on your personal finances, it then can cause a lot of emotional and physical stress, and then also vice versa. So it's just another reason to want to improve this. And when you're on the momentum of improving your finances, it's a good time to use that momentum to also improve your health and make sure that you're working out.
Yeah. And when it comes to early retirement specifically, one thing to keep in mind is that the purpose of retiring early is to have a greater portion of your life to go do the things that you want, whether they be travel or being outdoors. And if you are not in good shape and you haven't been your whole life, that's going to be a struggle for you to do that. It's going to be more difficult. It's going to be more expensive. Also, not to be like too morbid here, but if you retire at 50 and then you're dead at 55 because you're in terrible shape, that's not such a great life either. So you definitely want to take care of your body so that you can live a long life. Otherwise, what are you saving all this money for?
Yeah. Funny, I just watched the Less Is Now documentary on Netflix this morning, and Josh from The Minimalist, I don't know if I've heard him tell this story before, but he tells, and you hear these stories all the time of like someone just retired and then like dropped dead a week later, or a month later. But he tells the story of his mom. She like had just retired and moved to Florida, and it was kind of her dream that she was finally, retired and able to live off her Social Security. And like a couple months later, she got diagnosed with like stage 4 lung cancer. Right. And it's so sad. The interesting thing about working out, Mike, is that it is like a lot of categories of expenses in your life, in the sense that it can cost you a lot of money, but it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. And we often suggest this with every category of expenses. Decide on the importance of that thing in your life, and then decide what makes sense for you to spend on it. And clearly staying healthy should be of high importance to everybody, but it doesn't mean that you need to spend a lot of money on it. And that's one of the things that is kind of a pet peeve of mine about working out in particular, is that, look, if you can afford to go to an expensive gym and you use it, you get your money's worth, like no judgment, go for it. That is a very reasonable place to spend money because it is investing in your health. Like your wife, Mike, I know spends money to be a member at a swim gym. Is that what you call it? Swim gym?
Swim gym? No, just like a swimming pool?
Yeah, swimming pool, like Dynamo, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
She uses it. She gets up at like 5, the same ridiculously early hour you get up at, and she swims like multiple days a week. And that's an incredibly important part of her life. She used to be a competitive swimmer. So I know you guys spend money on that. I've seen it in your budget, and it's important. So that's the sort of thing. And she uses it. She gets her money's worth out of it. No judgment whatsoever. Keep doing that kind of thing, right? I think a lot of our point here, we'll kind of get more into it, is decide what makes sense for you. And if you're using this stuff, again, of course it makes sense. If you're not, don't, challenge your thinking in some areas. And I think the biggest thing is don't feel like you have to spend a lot of money to be healthy and to stay fit. And we'll kind of get into, specifics of what we mean by that. And I always like to think of Pelotons because they've been so trendy in the past year or two. I will not buy a Peloton because they are so expensive to me. And that monthly fee to really enjoy the benefits of it is just like, I can't. I had enough trouble with the Peloton being a few $1,000s. Having a, like $30 or $40 monthly ongoing fee is just even more pain that I can't deal with. But at the same time, I don't judge people. Well, it kind of sounds like I do a little bit.
No, you're seriously judging. You want me to say something a little bit nicer on this?
No. I mean, I'm serious. If someone is using that Peloton, just like your wife in her, swim gym, if they're using it and that is getting them back into shape, that's great. But if you were to survey the number of people who own a Peloton, that is collecting dust and is like a really expensive, hanger for clothing or something, whatever they've decided to do with it, it's probably, realistically high, maybe better, for a Peloton than the average piece of exercise equipment. So I think the point is, don't think that you being healthy and staying physically active has to cost you a lot of money. It could, but it does not have to.
And said another way, the justification for buying a Peloton should not be because health is important to you.
Yeah.
It should be because I love the class setup. I love biking indoors. It makes me happy. This is what I want to do with my time. If that is true, go for it. But I think most people will say, I want to get in shape and I just saw a commercial for Peloton, so I'm going to go buy this. And that's not really good justification.
And sometimes people have multiple different things, right? They're a member of a gym. They have a Peloton. They're paying that monthly fee. And I'm like, whoa, you're paying like thousands of dollars a year. That's a little intense, And again, like many things, if you can afford it and you can do it without going into debt, more power to you. That's awesome. But if you're in debt to have all of those things, that's where I would start to, question my decisions. So let's jump in. Mike, I have broken down 3 key things that you need to work out and some thoughts and tips on each of them. So I think it'd be helpful to kind of walk through each of them.
All right.
So let's start with clothing and gear. Right. So you like to run, you need running shoes to run.
Yeah. Running shoes. I haven't fully read the notes in this section. Running shoes. Let me just go off on a little tangent.
Yeah.
Having reasonable running shoes is a very good investment because feet problems can be a
really
big
expensive
pain and they can be very expensive. So you don't need to buy $300 running shoes. But buy $100 running shoes and make sure that you have good inserts that fit your feet. Otherwise,
get fitted. You can get fitted for free at any running shoe store.
Yeah. So,
funny, Mike, I thought you were going to go the other direction and talk about my bougie running shoes or something.
That's what I meant with the $300 running shoes.
Mine are $300. Mine are always in the $100 range.
No.
Ons are $120.
No, they're $150, and I think you get some discount on them.
Yeah, but
because you have a friend there.
Yeah. But I never spend more than 120, 130, maybe 150.
It's still a lot of money.
Counting. But here's the thing. But I run consistently. I use them. I wear those things out. Mm-hmm. And I've been fitted. I have a large toe box. In case you didn't know, I've been fitted that I need ons.
Oh yeah,
I do. I need shoes
from
with big toe boxes.
From the person at the store selling you the shoes told you you need them. You could have sold me
any pair of $100 running shoes. But anyways, my point, I forgot my point, but there's something you just said. What made me think of it is when we think about running shoes, I still think of the story. I don't know which one of them said this, but when we interviewed the How To Money guys, one of them was telling the story about how his wife pushes back sometimes, which is when he would sometimes try to convince her to wear a different size running shoe. I know this one's a little not quite your size, but I got it on sale. And she was like, no, I want shoes that fit me. I'm like, yeah. That's where you draw the line.
Exactly.
You deserve running shoes that fit you properly. Okay, so let's jump into clothing a little bit more. Here's some of our thoughts on this. One is, don't fool yourself into thinking, even though we're talking about shoes, that's one thing, but don't fool yourself into thinking that you, in order to start working out, you need to go buy lululemon workout clothes and spend $300 on something so that you can go run or do yoga or whatever. There are certain clothes you technically need to be successful. And a good pair of shoes is a great example, but you are not going to run any different in a pair of Lululemon tights versus a pair of C3 or Champion or whatever the brand tights are that Target sells. Right. And I'm not saying don't buy Lululemon, right? One of the ways I always like to think about things is, if you're running actively and you say, maybe you make a goal for yourself and say, my goal is to run a few days a week consistently, whatever. If you start consistently doing that for a month or two and you can afford it, like maybe say in 2 months, if I meet this goal, I'm going to go buy myself a pair of Lululemon tights. They are very nice. I own a couple pairs, but don't go buy all that stuff to think you need that to even start working out. So if you can't stick with something, don't go buy a bunch of expensive workout gear just to try stuff out. Like get what you technically need, which you can get at Target for like $30 and start running, right? And if you see yourself doing it, maybe you can earn stuff. And then if you're not sure if you're going to stick with a particular sport, often you can borrow, rent, or again, kind of go really cheap on things until you decide that you have shown yourself you're going to commit to something and that you're going to do it regularly. So if you're not sure if you like yoga, ask a friend to borrow their yoga mat for a week or two.
It's like what parents do with kids, where a kid has a new enthusiasm for some activity, and the parent's like, before I go invest in all this stuff, show me for a month that you really want to do this sport, and then we'll go buy the equipment. And I think a lot of people think if I get the stuff now, it will motivate me to do it. And I would really challenge you to find the motivation internally without the stuff. And then to your point, Maggie, treat it like a reward. If you need some goals and some thresholds that you want to meet, and the reward is getting a new pair of shoes or a new pair of tights, then go for it. That could be a great way to improve your fitness.
Yeah, very true. The other thing I think about with clothes is quality over quantity. So I will often focus on the quality of clothes. And so I work out a lot, but I also do a lot of laundry. I've got a lot of kids. I do multiple loads of laundry a week. So I don't need 3 pairs of running tights, right? I need 1 or 2 pairs. I think some people think, oh, I work out 5 days a week. I need, 5 things of something. Like you do laundry in between. And so focus on getting quality clothes that are going to last you. Again, once you've decided that you're going to commit to a particular type of working out, and when you decide what clothes or what gear you need, just again, I always try to think about the quality over quantity piece, because I think it can be really important. And remember that you do laundry, so you don't need 5 versions of something.
That's right. Also, you don't need to wash stuff after every single workout.
I remember that time we came to your house and you had a pile, because we recorded in your closet in the very beginning a few times we did an interview. And I was like, what's that pile of clothes on the floor? And you were like, my like half-used workout clothes. Like you wear them multiple times.
Oh, yeah. And it started in college, because when I was playing lacrosse in college, I would only have 1 practice outfit per week because I didn't want to do laundry. And so I would sweat through it entirely after practice, throw it on my floor, let it dry, and then wear it the next day. And then
it's
I wash it again.
Such a dude thing to let it dry on your floor. At least hang it up or something. Like wet stuff dry. They don't dry on the floor. Like hang it over a shower.
I didn't have a lot of. I didn't want to get my closet dirty. Anyway, I got used to wearing kind of dirty, smelly stuff because like after 2 minutes of working out, anyway, you're sweaty again. So
yeah, that's a fair point.
Anyway, that wasn't on your list. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, just wear dirty clothes. It's a good tip. I think, the last clothing tip is take care of your clothes and they will last you so much longer. So I do not dry any of my workout clothes and a number of other kind of types of clothes that I know will last longer by not putting them in the dryer. And it's worth investing in like a drying rack if you don't have one. So I got in this habit just from traveling abroad where often they don't have dryers and you just hang dry your clothes anyways. So we don't hang dry a lot of our cotton clothes, but all my kids and us, all of our workout clothes, anything that's like a dry fit kind of technical material, we hang dry. We put it on a drying rack. It'll be dry the next day. And I will put a link in the show notes, but I have like a nice, doesn't take up a lot of space, $30 drying rack on Amazon. Your clothes will last you so much longer if you do not dry them. Do you do that, Mike?
Yeah, I dry them in a pile on my floor.
That's a whole nother method. I like it.
I think different means to the same ends. I wash my stuff less frequently than you do.
Yeah, you should consider like even that jacket you're wearing, like you should not put that in the dryer. You should hang dry that. It'll last significantly longer.
I have so much of this stuff though. You're right. I have so much athletic equipment, as we've talked about like every other episode. I keep getting this from Michigan, so I get all this stuff. Anyway, Let's move on. Next category is equipment. And this one is where stuff gets real expensive real fast.
It could, yes.
Yeah. And I think the first thing to just keep in mind before you start considering equipment, most workout activities and I would argue the best workout activities, require no equipment whatsoever. Like
or
running,
very little.
Running, swimming.
Walking.
Running upstairs,
Well, swimming requires access to a pool, which we'll talk about. But yes,
that's not equipment.
Well, I mean, access. I would actually no. That's what I mean by equipment. I mean what you need to do the sport. So you do need access to a pool, which will cost you money unless you happen to have a pool in your backyard
or a public pool.
Yeah, true. But running, walking, yoga. You can do high intensity workout, high intensity interval training, different core classes, different CrossFit classes even that require almost no equipment and just your body.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that require some equipment, but there's some really inexpensive pieces of workout equipment that you can get that can serve a multitude of different purposes. So it's not like you need a treadmill necessarily. Like you could invest in under $100 worth of supplies that would give you a variety of different types of workouts you can do. So examples are exercise bands, an exercise or yoga mat, inexpensive free weights, and like a pull-up bar that you can put above a closet door or a door in your house. You could get all of that stuff for under $100, and it would give you, combined with some other things that we'll talk about, it would give you, a ton of different variety of workouts that you can do in your home.
Exercise bands, I think, are one of the most underrated pieces of equipment that you can own. They're super cheap. They're incredibly flexible, both in their material and in their uses. Yeah. You just set them up anywhere and do all kinds of activities. I do have a nice set of bands, but they were not expensive.
I also like exercise bands for traveling. So there's times where I learned this in some class at work actually, where I'll bring one exercise band with me in my suitcase. And I can do like a pretty decent, hotel room workout when I need to. The other thing in terms of just kind of equipment and space is, if you have the space in your home, it can be nice to make a dedicated workout space. So even if it is that you don't have any, specific equipment or like bigger equipment, but you just have some bands, a mat, some weights, a pull-up bar, whatever it might be, it can be nice to kind of make yourself a little area to work out. So like we have enough space in our house that we do have a room. I'll give up a guest room for a workout room, in my opinion, because I use it every single day. So we have a room that is an exercise room, right? And we'll talk about the equipment that's in it in a minute. Actually, I'm going to talk about it now. But in that room, we have a TV and an Apple TV, and it's really nice because I can watch TV when I work out. It just adds to the kind of motivation to let me do things in that room. And so I'll combine this point here of, consider potentially if you would use it and it would help you, you might want to buy some gym equipment for your home if you can get your money's worth out of it. And it doesn't mean you have to buy something new or expensive. You don't need to buy a Peloton treadmill. Just to give you an example of what's in our workout room, we have a treadmill that I have had for over 15 years. It was about $900, I think, 15 years ago. I bought it from Play It Again Sports. It was like a floor model or something. And it is a beast. I've put a ridiculous amount of miles on that treadmill, and it did break once during a move actually. And my husband got it fixed for like under $100. It was just something small that was messed up with it. We've also got a exercise bike, like the sitting kind. I don't know what you call, with a back on it that I bought over 10 years ago for like $200 or $300 on sale somewhere. And then we have a Bowflex that my husband bought about a year ago, used for $300. And so, if you really add up like how long we've had all that equipment, that's probably, Mike, you can probably do that math in your head, but maybe like $100 a year on average for the amount of time I've had all that stuff. And so my point is if you will work out at home, it can be super convenient and it can save you a lot of money, and it might be worth investing in some equipment if you're going to consistently use it.
And I think that last point is the most important. Don't buy something. Going to use it. Right. Don't buy something in the hopes that buying it will make you use it. Buy something because you do that exercise, you enjoy it, and by having it at home, it makes it easier or more enjoyable for you. This is why I've never bought a treadmill, for instance, because I don't particularly like running. And I think I like the idea of having it in my house and I could set it up in front of the TV, but I'm pretty sure that I would never do it. Part of my motivation is like, I have to like get clothes on and go outside and go run somewhere and do something. And that's like part of my process. I really just don't think I would use it as much as I would hope.
Yeah, which is a great point. I think you need to be honest with yourself about what your habits are and how you use things. And I've used a treadmill consistently for 20 years, and I sometimes I'll go 6 months and not use my treadmill because I only use my treadmill in the winter and when the weather's bad. So if it's raining or like right now, I just don't love running in cold weather. I'm just kind of like a baby about it. And so I much prefer to just stay in the warmth of my home. It's kind of like pretty freezing in my basement anyways. So it's kind of like running outside.
Oh yeah, exactly. Same.
It's just not like 30 degrees. I don't like running when it's like 30 or 40 degrees outside. But I consistently use it every winter. And sometimes, when my kids were young, it was really helpful because the other nice thing about having at-home workout equipment is when you have young kids, you can't leave your house. You can't leave your kids home alone, but you can sometimes when they're a certain age, you can go work out for 30 minutes and they're not going to, hurt themselves.
Great point.
And so it can be really helpful during the years that you've got young kids at home and that you guys can't leave.
So let's talk about gyms.
I got a lot of thoughts on gyms.
Yeah, I do too.
Swim gyms. Just kidding. I just like
gyms. This is one of those things where like some people love going to a place and working out around other people. They like the amenities. I mean, if that is your thing, then a gym could be a great investment. But I think most people buy a gym membership in the hopes that buying it motivates them to work out, and then they never go back.
And that's how gyms make money.
Exactly. So one thing that I've had at every single company I've worked for now, big office buildings usually have their own gyms in them.
And they're often free to employees. Sometimes there's a small fee, but if there is a fee, it's always subsidized.
Right. And I don't use the one at our work because I think people seeing me bench press so much would make everybody a little uncomfortable about my sheer strength, but
would intimidate them.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people do. And it's great because you can show up, you pull into the parking garage, you go work out, you get changed, you shower, you get changed and you go to work. It's very convenient.
Yeah, so we have a gym. We've not always had a gym at work. It just came in the last like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. But I never use it. I've used it like a handful of times. I will say there's actually 2 pelotons in our gym, which I discovered right before the quarantine and used once. And I actually would use it every now and then because I'm like, oh, you can still do the online course. It's great. But yeah, I'm traumatized by work gyms from my first job where we had a free work gym. And, I'm not like super bashful, but at the same time, like, I don't want to see my coworkers completely naked. And we had a gym, and obviously like a lot of people who are working out at work shower because they are going back to work or somewhere, or they're working out, at lunch or something. In the gym at my first job, there would be people like walking around completely naked. And I was just like, I don't know. I got to see you in a meeting in an hour. Like, I just can't deal with this. So, and I was really young at the time too, but I think I still wouldn't want to do that.
This is not where I thought that story was going, Maggie.
Yeah. Not everybody does that at a gym, but there are people at gyms. Every gym I've been to, someone in the locker room is like, just walking around completely naked. And like not putting on a towel or a robe or something.
So if you want to avoid this, you can go buy a gym membership somewhere else away from work.
Yes. But here, so yeah, to Mike's point on gym memberships, yes, if you're going to use it, it can be worth the money. So on the swim gym, that you're white, which I'm going to rename. Dynamo should rename themselves Dynamo Swim Gym. It's kind of got a ring to it. Gym memberships, like no judgment if you use it. Again, if you're not using it, really reconsider if that is something you need to be spending money on. And there's so many levels of gym memberships also, Mike. So there can be gym memberships that are $20-$30 a month. And then there's ones that are like $150 a month, right? And so I think, especially with all these new like Orange Theory and all these other types of kind of custom kind of niche gyms that are coming out, just, ask yourself if you're really using it, if you're getting your money's worth out of it, like you should do with all things. And speaking of getting your money's worth, if you are going to pay for a gym membership, find out all their benefits and get your money's worth out of it. So like we were a member of the Y for a while, and I love the YMCA, and they've got childcare that you have access to like a certain number of, sessions per month or something on, and they've got classes. And so it's like, use the classes, use the free childcare. So, get your money's worth if you are going to do it. And then if you're not using it, cancel it and figure out something else that's going to work for you.
Now, the last part of this equation is going to be access to motivation. And as you would imagine, there are all kinds of companies that are interested in capitalizing on like trying to find the motivation for you. And so I think in general, before we get into the list, if there is something that truly motivates you to stay healthy and you know it works and it costs some money, it's probably a good use of your funds. But there are almost always going to be some free or lower cost options available.
Yeah. Speaking of free or lower cost options available, I'm a huge fan of this. There are a ton of free and really high quality classes available on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
So my husband has never been a member of, he does yoga almost like 3 days a week for years, and he has never paid for classes. So he uses, there's a couple of YouTube channels that he's a big fan of, and sometimes he'll kind of explore other ones. And they put out really good content. And, you know, there's everything from yoga to HIIT, like high intensity interval training classes, to CrossFit style classes. And you can find classes on almost anything you want. So as an example, I saw this written up in an article recently. Like there's a HIIT class that's just to all Taylor Swift songs, right? So if you're a big Taylor Swift fan, like there's such
awesome.
a like variety of classes. So if you're like, hey, that's what's going to motivate me, there's actually more access to classes on YouTube than there would be at your local gym, right? Your local gym is going to have like a few choices each day for you to choose from. On YouTube, you've got probably hundreds of thousands of options. And you try them out and you'll find somebody that you really like and you'll stick with a few channels. And it's win-win. Like these people are making money off of these YouTube classes, right? They're getting ad revenue from posting their content. Every time you watch that class, they're making money. So it really is win-win. You're supporting that person in that way and you're getting access to something for free. So I would highly encourage people to just do a little bit of exploration on YouTube for whatever type of thing you're into, and looking for some different training opportunities on there. And then the next step up from that is, you know, if you can afford it and you want to try some different paid online memberships, there are a number of different types of services where you can get access to, you know, hundreds or thousands of classes. Again, same piece of advice we've given on everything here. Be cautious about what you really need versus want here. And if you're not using it, don't pay for it. You don't need to sign up for long-term contracts with all this stuff. A couple that I've used over the years. Mike, have you ever used any of these before?
No.
I love how short and sweet your answers are. Nope. I've used Beachbody before. So like there was a time where I was trying to do like kind of just get some more variety with my running. And they do have some really good classes. And so I paid for the Beachbody subscription and I would use it frequently. Eventually I quit using it and I stopped paying for it and canceled it. So Greg and I have I don't know how, something Greg did. He got a free month to Apple Fitness Plus, which they just launched about a month ago. And it's really cool. It syncs to your Apple Watch. You actually you cannot use it without syncing an Apple Watch, which I think is an interesting strategy on Apple's part. But it's really cool. The feature and functionality of it, the classes are good. They've got everything from like yoga, running, walking, HIIT classes. They've got dancing. We've done dancing classes with our kids over the past week and a half that they've loved. And they've just got a cool variety of classes, and it syncs to like your heart rate and your Apple Watch. Which is kind of fun. And it's like pretty affordable. We were actually considering that we might keep paying for it through a bigger bundle that Apple has, because it's something that we are consistently using right now. So again, if we stop using it, we would not pay for it anymore, but it's like 10 or $20 a month.
And the last one is going to be classes and other services through the gym that you may already be paying for. And so this is going back to your point, Maggie. Find out what benefits are available to you and take advantage of that stuff. This is a great opportunity to try out new types of workouts that you might not otherwise do. If it is there and included in the price, it could introduce you to something else that you really love.
Okay. I hope people have found this inspiring and helpful. Again, just a challenge that staying active and healthy and fit is incredibly important, but it does not need to cost you a lot of money. And there are ways to do it for free. And then there are ways to do it on a budget. And just be very, thoughtful and intentional about what you do spend your money on in this area. So let's hit our top 3 takeaways.
All right. Number 1, commit to improving your physical fitness this year. It's good for you, and it will also help you on your financial fitness journey. They are linked.
Awesome. Number 2, do not fool yourself into thinking that you need to spend a lot of money to be healthy and to stay fit. It's just an excuse. Everyone listening to this podcast likely has access to what they need to start working out today for free. And to be clear, I'm talking about your body and YouTube. You already have your body available to you and you have YouTube. So try connecting those two things and either like Mike does, just go outside and go for a run, or, turn on YouTube and find a class that is inspiring to get you moving in some other way.
And if you have the motivation to work out, consider investing in some low-cost, high-quality equipment to improve what's available to you at home. Research what you can get used inexpensively and perhaps for free.
Mike, one thing we did not mention when we talked about exercise equipment is the resale is really high, the resale value. So like my husband bought this Bowflex a year ago and he's kind of changed some things about his workout routine. And we were looking at what we could resell it for. We could resell it for almost exactly what he bought it for.
It's an investment, Maggie.
Yeah, it's an investment. Okay, y'all, thanks for listening. If you have been challenged or inspired by what you have heard today, please rate and review the show. You can also subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode. And as always, if you have any thoughts or questions, we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear, how you work out and what you spend money on and what you don't, what you find value in. So maybe we can get some of those discussions going on social media this week. And you can always leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370, or you can hit us up on Instagram or Facebook.
All right. Thanks, Maggie. This was fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. You know what I'm about to go do right now?
Go for a run.
I'm going to go run on my treadmill
All right.
because it's cold and rainy here.
Have fun.
Okay. Bye, Mike.
Bye.